Have you ever wondered how you could take a vault full of really complex ideas and, turn it into fresh, engaging content every single day and do it automatically? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a fascinating system that's designed to do exactly that. We're going inside the G2/J2 content engine, a machine that's literally built to transform a static library of innovation into dynamic daily storytelling. So let's go ahead and see how this whole thing works. So for today's explainer, think of it like a factory tour. First up, we'll look at the raw materials. That's the innovation portfolio. Then we'll see the button that starts the entire assembly line, the daily trigger. After that, we'll check out what the content engine actually makes. Then we'll dive into its super strict rulebook, the guiding principle. And finally, we'll see how it grades itself with its own quality control system, scoring for success. All right, first stop. Every great factory needs top-notch raw materials, right? And this content engine is no different. The entire system is built on this foundation of core assets, and that's what we call the innovation portfolio. This is where every single idea comes from. And just take a look at the sheer variety of ideas here. This portfolio, it's this curated collection of 13 different patent-eligible technical assets. We're talking about everything from something called G2VEAS, which is a voter-auditable election system, to containerized data centers, and even a J2 smoke condensation chamber system. This diversity is absolutely key because it gives the engine a really rich and varied pool of material to pull from every day. That way, the output never gets repetitive or stale. So that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? You've got this incredible library of 13 really valuable assets, but it's static. It's just sitting there. How do you actually build a system to mine it for fresh insights, day in and day out without fail? How do you make it come alive? Well, the answer starts with something that's surprisingly simple, but also incredibly precise. To get this whole content factory up and running, you don't flip some big, complicated switch. Nope. It all comes down to a specific manual trigger. These 3 words right here. That is it. Daily Innovation Brief. The internal policy is crystal clear on this. This exact phrase, and nothing else, is what kicks the entire system into gear. No typos, no variations. It's the one unchangeable command that starts the whole daily creation cycle. So what's really important to get is that this phrase is basically the start button for the entire operation. And making it a manual trigger, that's a deliberate choice. It makes sure that every single daily run is an intentional act. A human has the final say on starting production, which prevents the system from just, running on its own without any oversight. Okay, so we've pressed the start button. The engine is humming. So what does this factory actually make? What comes out the other side once everything gets going? Let's take a look at the system's daily output. This system is all about precision. Every single day it runs, it produces exactly 9 distinct pieces of content, and the system calls them artifacts. Not 8, not 10, always 9. This fixed number is a core part of its design, and, as we're about to see, it's quality control. Now you might be asking, how does it get to 9? Well, the engine doesn't just focus on one thing. Each day, it reaches back into that portfolio of 13 assets we saw earlier, and it randomly selects 3 different innovations to talk about. So the whole day's output is structured around these 3 topics. And here's the workflow for each of those 3 innovations. It's a 3-step process. For each one, the system creates a trio of content. First, an infographic that highlights what it calls the key betterment points. Those are the specific advantages of the tech. Then, it produces a cinematic video to bring that info to life. And finally, it records an audio podcast that discusses it. So 3 innovations and 3 artifacts for each one. That's how we get to our magic number of 9. So, an automated system this powerful, well, it needs a really strict set of rules to keep it on the rails. Think of this next part as the factory's operating manual. These are the non-negotiable principles that govern every single thing it creates. It's all about consistency and focus. This quote, taken right from the system's own policy, is really the heart of its guiding principle. What it means is, the engine is not allowed to just make stuff up. It can't go browse the internet for information. It has to stay 100% faithful to the source materials it was given. So its creativity is powerful, but it's bound by the facts in its own library. And that principle breaks down into these 4 very specific rules. First, only focus on those key betterment points. Second, like we just said, only use the source materials provided. Third, and this one is so interesting, the output can never mention the policy or the process behind its own creation. It's designed to be totally invisible. And finally, there's the all or nothing rule. If for some reason the system can't produce all 9 artifacts perfectly, it has to produce 0. Nothing. That ensures a partial or incomplete brief never, ever gets released. All right, the final piece of this puzzle is quality control. I mean, how does the system actually check its own work? Well, it has this built-in automated scoring system to make sure every single rule was followed every single time. The check is broken down into 4 simple pass-fail questions, and each one is worth 25% of the score. First, did it create exactly 9 artifacts? Yes or no? Second, was the content focused on innovation? Third, was it based only on the core foundation assets? And fourth, did it follow the latest version of the policy? It's a super clear, totally quantitative way to measure a perfect production run. And the goal here is completely unambiguous, 100%. There's no partial credit in this factory. Every single run is measured against this standard of absolute perfection. It's not just about being automated, it's about being consistently and reliably excellent. So what can we take away from all this? We've just toured a system that combines this deep library of human ideas with a strict, automated process to generate creative work every single day. And it raises a pretty cool question, right? Is this blend of human innovation and machine-like execution, this kind of disciplined creativity, is this a glimpse into the future of how we communicate really complex ideas?